Yeah, everyone's on a rocket ship. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
crazy, man. I pushed live, but it's going to take like 2 minutes.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's crazy because it's like
Share to my page.
there's like a multi-dimensional aspect to our human experience more and
Yeah.
more every day, and you have all these streams. Say you have 8 or 10 streams going, and you're conscious of them. It's like you can pluck them, like ripe apples off a tree anytime you want. Yet at the same time, the human is like white knuckles. What the F is going on, right? I mean, not in a horrible way, because whatever's been thrown at us, we seem to be able, we seem to be having this greater aptitude for, for not freaking out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. It's been a while. It's been a while since the last time we spoke. I think it was a few months ago, and just so much change. So much change. I think we're all going through it collectively.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the stories I'm hearing and the people I'm working with, it's just, yeah, it's good though. I feel like things are good, even though a lot
Yeah.
of people don't feel that.
I don't know. I think, I'd say I don't know. I don't even know, because I have no concept of outside of this collective, within the collective that I spend my time in,
Well, that's
which
good.
is, Soulogy and like types of communities. I don't know, the energy, whatever, however you want to,
Yeah.
quantify it, but I mean, qualify it. But I mean, yeah. And then you look at all these different aspects, like masculine and feminine. Like,
Yeah.
dude, you are. I just had this show with this lady, and one of the things that she said was that she had this vision, and I think it was within the last couple of weeks, like 10 days ago, where she saw all these masculine lined up just to infinity,
Right.
right? And she saw it for what it was. She saw it as an energetic transmission to her. I'm sorry, a transmission to her of an energetic, metaphor of what's happening.
Yeah.
And I look at that planetary wise, and then of course the feminine, dude. The feminine's like, so the masculine's coming out, but the
Why?
feminine's coming out more than she was coming out, and it's all happening at the same time. And there's this incredible convergence happening energetically, because men are softening up. And I know, because when you were on here before,
Yeah.
like me, I mean, there was a lot of masculine activity,
Yeah.
distorted masculine activity in both of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, it's amazing because we're embodying that divine masculine energy, right? I think that and we're tapping into our intuition. We're tapping into those, the more feminine, energies, intuition, compassion, empathy, right? And yet we're embodying our strength and our courage and our boldness. And I think there's a lot of people that are being challenged, I think, inwardly, specifically speaking to the men. I think there's a lot of people that are being challenged inwardly, that may not be speaking about it, may not be loud about it, but they are definitely being challenged when they look in the mirror, because the energy that is collective to our world is forcing people. And, people can either deal with it now and address the mirror, or, unfortunately go through like a hard, struggle like I had to go through, right? Where I had to like get punched in the face a few times.
Yeah.
And I don't think people have to go through that. I think that, there's an opportunity right now with the energies the way that they are, that we can continue to heal, because the healing energy is just incredible, I think, in so many people's lives right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, if you're, because everybody has their own perspective and how and their own nomenclature right?
Right.
Healing might be alignment, or could be a lot of things. But there is definitely, evidence in our lives that we can't really go out and prove. We can talk about it, which is this pure intention that's coming from us, whether it's projected onto our healing or focused on another aspect that we're focusing on. It's creating a transformation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is cool because it's just between you and you.
Yeah.
Like how do I, yeah, you know what I mean? How do I approach this moment? How do I approach that moment? You wake up the next day and everything is just a clean slate. You're like, okay, how's it work today?
Right.
But there's a continuity to it that I think you were alluding to. It was kind of in between the words, but I mean, there's a continuity happening.
Right. Well, for me too, I have fallen in love with the process. Literally, I'm passionate now. Even just looking back 6 months or a year ago to where I am now, I'm falling in love with the process of falling in love with myself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm falling in love with the journey of whatever that healing is for the individual. But for me, it's about living, like, for example, 6 months ago, I would have never come on a live stream with a headband and you know what, but this is who I am, and embodying who I am has been one of the greatest things that I've started to really, really take on. And I think that's what ultimately is happening for so many of us. We're just literally like learning to accept ourselves, be ourselves, and operate from a state of being versus needing validation or approval from other people. And to me, that's the spiritual journey, right?
Yeah.
To me, that is ultimately what has become the spiritual journey for me, is embodying that energy of self-love, and being able to then give that back accordingly. While still learning to overcome forms of anxiety and, different things in my life that, are continued struggles that I am always continually looking to, my mindset, my belief in my value, my worth.
Yeah.
So it's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is incredible. And, it's what you're talking about. It's the human.
Yeah.
It's seriously, brother. I mean, it's the fucking human. Man, woman. I mean, we're being all this stuff that we're all pulling in, all in our own way. We're embodying this, but there's nothing more powerful than embodying the human that you are. Oof. With that information, with that force behind you. That is, as I used to think, was God's greatest army, is actually everything that's within me, that's giving me all this information and code. Yeah, but what's the point? Just to know it? No. It's to be Jeff. It's to be Todd. It's to be Morgan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because we're right back where we started, so to speak.
Good point. And it's true too, because I think one of the things that we see, that I've seen, and even in my own life in the past, was like my spirituality was about like escaping death in a sense, right? But now I'm like returning back to owning the fact that, like, I came here, 1 in 400 trillion chance of life, right? I came here to experience Earth.
Yeah.
To experience what we call life on Earth. This is what we come here for, is to experience. And ultimately, it's really about recognizing that our birthright is joy. Our birthright is peace. Our birthright is experience. Our birthright is love. Our birthright is abundance. And like, it's all the embodiment of who I am. And I think that we're constantly returning back to, you know what I mean? To that state of of just being, and I don't know. I no longer need to escape.
Yeah.
I, I
There's
yeah,
there's a voice. You know, Franco Danicola, my brother, he talks about the active consciousness, and I'm not going to get it right. But it's made up of, you know, the voice, so to speak, of the ego, of the mind, of the heart, you know, of the higher self. I mean, it's like this whole compilation
yeah,
of the multidimensionality or the team or the council within the human conscious mind, right? And how we navigate and how we, you know, proceed and with this expanded mastery that we're developing.
yeah,
And there's a voice in there, and it may be voices, and maybe it's just the balancing in all assimilated into one voice. But at a minimum, we know the ego voice, we're hearing it differently. The mind voice, we're hearing it differently. It's not the core of our existence. The core of our existence is much bigger than that. And I'm excited because for a lot of reasons, but more than anything, to see on the individual level, because that's how I believe it happens. The flower of life, if you want to call it that, is people transforming.
yeah.
Like you have. And there's so many people that have come on this show. You know, I mean, it's amazing to see the human transformation more than anything else, more than who you channel, more than any of that. The human transformation of Jeff, the human transformation of everybody. That's where the code is.
Definitely.
That's the mirror.
Yeah.
That's the mirror right there.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, when I heal, and that's my job, is to live for me. This is my mindset, right? My mindset is now where I'm at in my life at 44 years old yesterday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. By the way, it's amazing too, because I turned 44 and I entered the stage of 1 in numerology, and I'm a life path 1. So it's going to be a great next 10 years for me. I'm feeling amazing, but
it's going to be a great rest of your life.
Yes. Yes. There we go. But the reality that I've realized in my mindset is that I realize every day that I work on being the best version of myself and living from gratitude and appreciation for who I am today. And that's it, you know, and enjoying that path and that journey, whatever that looks like, has really ultimately put a new spark in my heart, has put a new passion. I actually really am enjoying life.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Yes. That's the whole thing.
And I don't have everything. I don't have a big house, but I'm actually enjoying being in this body. Yeah. And man, I could have never said that a year ago at some level, you know?
Well, it's like we're at the point where inspiration meets expression and they become one. And your gratitude that's the inspiration. I mean, the gratitude is in the inspiration and in the expression. And the expression is what? Being you. And by the way, that's a badass phoenix behind your head. That shit is real.
I love
that. Where'd you find that?
So I found it, man. I don't know. It was like a moment. I don't even remember where I found it.
Is it a tapestry or what is it?
Covers the whole wall. So
God, that's like the most badass thing I've ever seen.
Dude, and the colors just pop, you know?
I know. I bet. Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, right on.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, right on.
No, you know, it's the mirror. It's the reflection of my life. You know, I mean, we talked about it last time. You and I have been down the similar path. I mean, I think about, you know, just 6 years ago, I was in an isolation cell, in a prison cell, broken beyond broken, despair beyond despair, you know, suicidal. And, you know, I say this now all the time, that I had manifested my own prison in my mind. and it literally manifested in reality. And to think where I'm at today, just 6 years later, it's grace. It's grace, but it's also a lot of determination in my own heart, a lot of strength to not give up, because the path hasn't been easy. The healing journey has not been easy. You talk about the voices, right? We have to learn to deal with realizing that we have this egoic voice and we have this higher self, and then merging and integrating all of that together and going through that spiritual awakening where I had to face the mirror, right? I had to look in the mirror and see all of the brokenness and see all of the shadows and see all of that, and find the strength inward to actually deal with those things and be honest with myself. And I'm grateful for the courage that is instilled inside of me. I'm grateful for the grace that has allowed me to become the man I am today, because man, I finally like me.
Yeah. Man, I mean, there's like a newfound respect. I mean, Soulogy says the human is the hero, but I mean, I keep getting this vision of I can't say it. And so much, I can't really explain my whole experience without, because Morgan, I mean, it's two is one. So I see like our higher selves watching us, and then I expand that and I see our higher selves watching all of us. I mean, it's like the whole deep dive was by design.
Yeah.
And that's not some, esoteric, it's not, I don't mean it like that. I mean that it wasn't guaranteed, but we had enough faith in ourselves and in the universe and big enough balls. Anyone who has walked the face of the earth. Okay. I don't care who it is, but we were given that opportunity. And now it's starting to come to fruition.
Yeah.
And it's happening under the radar by conventional standards. And it's through stories like your own. Because when you talk about the deep dive, and again, we talked about this last time, and it's beyond judgment. It's an energetic experience. But when you go into the depths of frequent drugs for an extended period of time, you do things that you would never do.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you're on the outside looking in at you doing it.
Correct.
And so this is some crazy, multi crazy mixture of polarity type of atmosphere. It, for all that it looks like from the human perspective, like homelessness, and drug dens, and whatever, it is an opportunity like everything. And I respect the hell out of, especially with the prison thing. I did 34 days in the county jail when I woke up, and that was not easy. But to be to that depth that you went to, and to be here today and say, in this moment, I love myself. That's huge.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a miracle, right? And I think it's a miracle factually speaking, because statistically speaking, people that did what I did, which is intravenous meth and heroin, there's a 4% recovery rate. So not only are we miracles that we were born, but we're miracles that we actually survived that, right? That
Yeah.
And so it has given me a profound ability to be grateful for things that people at my age, based on the socio-economic standards of the world, would struggle in their identity, because they'd feel like they're not far enough, or I am literally appreciative of being able to make my own meal.
Yeah. Hell yeah. You're peaking in your mid-age crisis.
Exactly.
And isn't that like isn't that like, an example or indicative of what's happening? If you look back I want to say 10 for sure, 20, 30 years ago. By the time somebody hit 45, that midlife crisis did come. And by the time they were 50 or, I mean, I'm generalizing this, but you pretty much knew where it was going to go.
Right.
And the energy now is different. The energy now, we think of instant transformation as in like, a linear second, but we are instant transformation. So many people have stopped on a dime and said, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to be in 6 months, on a live video with Todd with a phoenix behind me and a headband on, two necklaces and six crystals in my pocket.
On my arm.
I was going to say, yeah. But you know what I mean? I mean, it's like it's the weirdness of what draws us together by society's definition is actually our strength. This is the real deal. Yeah. We are the universe. This is the real deal. I am that. I am the I am. Yeah. And this is not like, how do you explain this? All the sacred texts in history, it's an energy, it's a feeling, it's a sensitivity, it's so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think Christ described it the best when he said the kingdom of God is within you, right? You are the temple. Mm-hmm. And I think that recognizing our own divinity is essential for transformation in our life. And it just brings the awareness to the ability that we can transform everything in our life if we would simply believe that it's possible.
Yeah, that's right? What's coming down to. Yeah,
that's it. Because I love the scripture too. Jesus said, if you would believe, you would see the glory of God. That's not about a religion or anything. He's simply stating that if you would believe in the divinity that lives within you, you could transform your life. And I think that people don't believe, we limit ourselves. I limited myself for a long time. And now I believe that I am given accountability and responsibility to create what I want to create. And I can use that deliberate intention to create and tell the story because I'm the director and I've been given the grace by God, to tell that story. And that's what I've chosen to do. Because there was a time when I got out of prison in 2016, I was still a victim. I was a victim to the system. I was a victim to my addiction. I was a victim to my upbringing. I was a victim to this and I was a victim to that. And I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice that I was either going to empower my life or continue to live as a victim of things happening to me versus them happening for me. And
or happening because of you, which is the same thing as, I mean, that's embodiment. That was the template. And I think we're surpassing all the templates and collectively we're surpassing the template, but yeah, man, I mean, it's so much in your journey because like, I was in the Harris County Jail for 34 days and I was in the highest risk, 25-man cell. And the level of let's just say the potential, the playing field potential, the expanse was the biggest I'd ever seen. There was demons, there was angels, and I'm speaking in metaphoric terms, energetically. This was all there, physical, non-physical. And for you, and because one of the things that stood out when you said that was there is a huge victim mentality when you're on the inside.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason they say when they look out the window, that's the free world. That's with respect. Because but one thing you'll find is that nobody's guilty on the inside, right? There's always a story.
Right.
But what's fascinating is you also have a counter, let's just say the collective or the structure of it, that's matching the frequency, which is unfair, which is debilitating, which is that lesser God that's making you a piece of crap, and and I don't know like you, but I know that the treatment is just abhorrent.
Oh, it's psychological warfare.
You're treated like less than an animal.
Sure.
And but the fodder, the raw material for alchemy, the phoenix behind you. I mean, this is transfiguration we're talking about. It's beyond, you know what I mean? And there's so much emphasis on the now that what we thought we could be is not even in our radar.
Limitless beings we are, right? We truly are. We truly are limitless. And it is absolutely also sad, the the way that people are treated in there, right? But it's wild when you actually start to see it. It's almost a reflection of their own self-love, right? Like, it's wild. I look back at my days in prison and I realized that I was receiving back the same way that I was treating myself.
Right. Right.
Which, ultimately the reality that I had created in my life at that time was simply mirroring back my own ability to love self. And so being able to address that has allowed me to take my power back. And now I look at all of that. There's a great scripture that says, what the enemy meant for evil, God turns around for good, right? And so I now see that all as it was forging my life. And without it, maybe I wouldn't be here the way I am today, right?
Well, that's interesting, because there's a certain ever more present and visible reality made apparent by our higher sensitivities, and that is this energy you're talking about. This story, there's on one side the Kali, dark, feminine, no bullshit, I'm coming at you because I love you,
Right.
and I'll rip your heart out if I have to and show it to you while it's still beating. And then over here you got the, like, Glinda in the Wizard of Oz, the Good Witch of the North, right? And it's in this intersection, and we are spot in the middle of it, and we dictate the alignment of it. It's such a personal trip, having more and more apparent collective ramifications in our personal lives. Are you seeing that happen in your life? I mean, there's a lot of people spending time alone right now, no doubt. But are you seeing the, like begets like, like attracts like? Are you seeing things come to you, whether they be people or opportunities or just flow or anything like that?
It's interesting. I am. I'm seeing that in different facets, though, because the work that I do as a life coach, right, is I see a lot of people coming to me with what I would call my old shadows, right?
Oh, cool.
So I'm seeing my I'm seeing my unhealed self in them, and I'm helping them, because it's like rewind. It's
well, hang on, because you lost me.
Yeah.
So they come in,
right?
You're seeing your past shadows.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Which I thought, wow, that's very cool. And then you said, and which is very cool too, that I'm healing myself. So you're actually not healed from your past shadows. You're actually getting a magnifying glass or a microscope, seeing them in a bigger way, maybe.
No.
And you're actually aligning with. I mean, it's helping you. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's what you're doing for them is happening to you.
Well, I think ultimately anything we do is there's energy for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So I think ultimately when you do a service and you give to people, I think ultimately we also receive energy back from spirit, from the creator, right? I think there's always this universal energy. But a lot of what I'm seeing is that I'm able to help people of the things that I've already overcome. So someone comes to me with an addiction, or someone comes to me with, this relationship issue with their children, or someone comes to me with going through a spiritual awakening, and I'm able to see my old self, the old shadows in them, and help them through that journey, because I've already learned to overcome that in my life as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Morgan often has channeled and talked about that there is this, what am I trying to say? This cycle that is kind of like a, I want to say validation, synchronicity, where you experience something and then observe it. And also the other way, it can be you observe something and you experience it. So like you're going into this and seeing your old self, basically.
Yeah. I think that, as someone who works with energy and things like that, we have to, and I've learned this very big in my life, is I cannot absorb it. I have to observe it. Right. Most of my adult life, I absorbed so much. Now I'm able to observe it from a state of neutrality, right? From that state of neutrality. Whereas maybe in the past, I would have tried to tie to that energy. You know what I mean? Now, yeah. And I think what Morgan said is spot on. We have to learn to observe it. And then how do we actually become a container or a catalyst to help people transmute it? Because as an energy worker, I don't think, or as a life coach, whatever we want to put a label on, right? I mean, I'm also an ordained pastor, so we can, we can put a whole bunch of labels on it. But ultimately, what we do is we're just the catalyst for people, right?
Right.
Ultimately, they are their healers, and the God in them is their healers. And so I think we just point people inward to deal with their shadows and deal with their mindsets. I think it all starts here so that we can live from here, Yeah.
Well, and the intention, and getting a handle on the intention with the information and code that comes from the multidimensionality and intuition. And then the more you, because there definitely seems to be an external collective that's all of us that's pushing us to be present in the now. So when you're in that situation, right? I mean, it's as pure as you can get.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel. I feel like we're just becoming, the veils aren't out there. The veils are us, right? So we're losing our bullshit, losing all our veils in front of us, all of our masks.
Right.
And it's actually becoming less painless because we're becoming more comfortable with ourselves. And the next step being, okay, if you have, ratcheted up, if you want to call it belief system, and you start to see yourself as goddess, you start to see others that
trouble for that.
Well, but I mean, it is what it is, and we're in the physical. So, what is that going to do to it? I mean, have you experienced changes in your physical body? Do you feel like you're growing older? Do you feel like you're, leveling off? Are you noticing anything with you in the physical?
Oh, I mean, complete transformation. I don't even look the same. I look at videos that I filmed 3 months ago, and I'm like, holy cow, doesn't even look like me anymore. My health focus is just off the charts right now in my life, the best it's ever been, because I'm aligned with I am healthy, right? And the more I'm aligned with that energy and that vibration and that mindset, the more everything in my life has to create that focus and that reality. And so, I'm doing about, I'd say, anywhere from 40 to 50 miles a week, mostly hiking and running.
That's a lot, dude. That's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And if some of that's hiking, That's really a lot.
Most of it's hiking right now.
Yeah. So where do you live? I forgot. Where do you live?
San Diego.
All right.
I'm in paradise. So I'm blessed for sure. But yeah, I mean, even the countenance, everything has been changing drastically in my life. And I think I've seen it in a lot of people's lives that are doing the work.
Yeah.
I'm sure you, Todd, can probably relate to this, like you were saying. I mean, we went through that great conjunction, right? And now you see so many people like literally on an accelerated rocket ship. And that's what I see a lot in my own life and people's lives, around me.
Yeah, and I think it's happening real time. Like you just, because we look at something and go, oh, in 5 years we'll be walking on water. Well, you know what? This is so mind blowing.
Right.
We could be doing that, figuratively doing that in 5 weeks. I mean, this is moving at warp speed.
Todd, I just turned 44 yesterday, and I feel physically like I'm in the best shape that I've been in over 15, 20 years.
Wow.
And I truly believe, this isn't like rhetoric or anything. I truly believe as the individual heals, the collective heals.
Yes.
And I truly believe that so many of us are healing inwardly on a grand scale. And I do believe we are moving and headed in the right direction through consciousness and as a collective. What that looks like in 100 years from now, nobody really fully knows. But I do not buy into the porn, the fear porn. I just don't see it. I think that we are headed in a good direction, and that we've got to stop looking at the small minority stuff. That's
a great point. That's a great point. I mean, if you look at, you can characterize the mainstream media. It's really kind of funny because, like in the last week, and I check in for not for reasons of being engaged in it, and I will tell you that I can be, but it's less and less and less. And I think this is something that's happened to everybody. But I looked at it last week, and it was like separation through race, easily. The whole thing with the Asian deal. I'm not saying that people haven't been assaulted if they were Asian, but it's obviously being talked about a lot. So that's an agenda. What does that mean? Is that like China and us? I mean, I don't even care about that stuff. But you have that part of it. You have that part of it that's kind of, that we had been conditioned to figure out what is the state of the union here. And here's our information. Now we're pulling it from communities like this and conversations like this and from ourselves. So you have this whole different energetic projection of physical matter coming from this physical Merkabah that's not even looking over there. And if it is, it's less and less and less. Right. This is our reality. It's not what we're told. It's what we are. Yeah. I am soul. I am soul. I am soul. I mean, that's it.
I canceled cable. I don't watch the news. I'm focusing my energy on what I can impact, right? So what I can impact on a daily in regards to my daily life is my own garden, my own heart, my own energy, my own mind, and those closest to me. And I just feel like if I go out to the store, or I go hike, or I go coach my son's football team, which I'm doing, or I go to my
I saw that post the other yesterday, by the way. You went to go view one game and coach another, right?
Yeah. Or
congratulations.
Thanks. It's been a long time, but when I run into people out in the streets and at the games and all this, listen, we're 95% of us are just trying to be the best we can be.
That's right.
And live life. And you go to the stores, and we've got to focus on the communities. We've got to see that, listen, we as a whole are not what is being portrayed in the fear porn.
Yeah.
And And we are so much more united as a race of people, humanity, than what we are being shown sometimes. And I
Well, of
think
course.
that
Yes, absolutely.
that's the key, right?
Absolutely.
That's the key.
That's it. Look, what's the old saying? The universe is not going to do it for us or for you or for me. So and it sounds cheesy, but the universe is a simple, profound truth.
Yeah.
Until you see, instead of, it's almost like this. Instead of looking around for your tribe, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be funny. Look around for those that you feel are not, and then bring those people into your heart. And I guarantee you, there's probably going to be a reciprocal action of you attracting people from your tribe.
Right.
I mean, oneness is oneness. All of this, we know we have we have enough multidimensional information, enough angelic information, however you want to put it. We have enough awakened within us, DNA, whatever you want to call it, to be able to navigate this life from a higher awareness, a higher perspective that may take us to places that we're not comfortable with as human beings. But the truth is the truth is the truth. Oneness is oneness. So I'm with you. Start with the core, work out in your friends and family, and then the community in the moments that you exist. And community can be, let's face it, this internet has been prolific in this last 10 years of our transformation. So all respect to that.
Absolutely. Imagine if we were to focus on the things that we have in common with each other, right? Instead of the one or two things that we may disagree, whether it's the vaccine or whether it's this, or like, what if we were to just focus on all the great things that we all have in common and towards that, like, instead of the one thing that we may have a disagreement in, we literally are losing family members, friendships, and all of this stuff in you see it, right? Over the one thing that we disagree, when there's 99 things that we all agree on, and the foundation of that being kindness, goodness, love, and concern for your human brother or sister. And I think that's really, I just would love to see more people focus their thoughts and their energy on that, because ultimately that is who we really are. That is who we truly are as a human race. And the 5% that's not, let's not give them any energy. Let's not even give them the attention.
Or let's bring them into our heart. Maybe we'll convert them. There's 95% of us and 5% of them. I would think one of us could probably do it on our own. You know what I mean?
They're not true.
Yeah. And the thing is, I am soul. We have that in common.
Yeah.
We can talk about names of the 5,000 gods on this planet. It's all the same thing. Maybe we get there that way.
Right.
Or maybe we get there with the with the I am soul backwards, which is really the same thing, because everything's a paradox. I'm not afraid to show my ass. And maybe what we have in common is we're all gallant, valiant souls that have come into a body, and this body, this human aspect, is as much a part of this journey. It is actually the point aspect of this journey. And maybe what we have in common is we all have been through the shit in our own ways, in our own narratives, but energetically, it's all been the same thing. We've been lied to. We kind of figured out, we agreed to this. We can change this, but it's not trying to check our temperature by what's out there, even on a platform like Soulogy. It's about checking in with yourself and then working with that magic and like you have, and being in tune. And we have our ups and downs, right?
Yeah. Oh,
but being in tune with that transformational, which is really what? Creation energy. And
I like
I said, it's an inspiration and expression rolled into one. It's a merging where you're literally the egg and the sperm hitting that point where they become one. This is what we're doing. And yeah, people can call us crazy, but you know what? I have a feeling that if we had a massive natural disaster or something happen in this world, I put my money on this type of frequency and this type of community of the people that aren't going to lose their shit. And it's
Yeah.
not about whether you do or you don't, but it's just about trying to make, this is where we're headed. We're all headed. Some might look like they're here first, but you know, we
Yeah.
can't even begin to understand how this all works. But it looks good.
I think you hit on a point too. It's like, you know, we're probably not going to get there with, you know, the 5,000 different gods, right? As far as like who's right, who's this, and you're spot on, man. You're spot on, and I love the community that we can create online, like you said, right?
Yeah.
The virtual communities that we can create, and we can facilitate those containers, you know, and really hold space in those places at such a great, I mean, I think back to 10 years ago when we didn't have this type of access, and to the access that we have now to information and to, you know, really be able to connect like this, I think is really helping a lot of people.
Absolutely.
I love the phrase that says, use social media, don't let social media use you.
Well,
right?
we are.
Yeah.
We actually are, because you know, one thing about social media, if you take Facebook as example, we've all been subjected and chosen at different levels, whether we want to admit it or not, of portraying our energy. That in this journey, we get to a point and go, that's not really me. You know, why am I doing that? Why am I putting my face out there? You know, whatever the evolution is. So there's that part of it. So it's kind of a you know, like a representation of what's happening energetically. We're starting to take more integrity. You know, because if we try to bullshit on social media, it's the energy's hitting us right back, right? I mean, this is, you know, and I keep saying this: nobody gets out alive, but we all get there. Nobody's left behind. You know, so I mean, this is new territory, in my opinion, of what the universe has experienced before, because of the physicality and the degree of polarity.
5D, right? You know,
I think it's not 5D. I think it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I don't know when it stops, because that's how fast it's moving.
How much has your ability to intuitively feel energy increased over the last year?
Well, 2020, whether you were in a light worker circle or not, the energetics of it are the most pronounced.
Yeah.
I would say, I would have to say the closest things that would come to it would be World War II, World War I, the Depression. But things were different then. I mean, look at, for instance, let's say the Depression. That was a 5 or 6 year ordeal, the meat of it.
Right.
So in that timeline, in that period of time, the density was even thicker. So it took a long time. People could take it. People, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you've had 1 year. You've had 1 year of quarantine, COVID, and all that shit that goes with it. Now, I went to 3-4 places today in Arkansas, small town, 67% in this state voted Trump. And I only say that to tell you, not in a bad way, but these are people that to each his own kind of thing. Right. And I walked in what's today, the 20th, 19th, the governor, you know, got rid of the mask mandate, and ain't nobody wearing masks nowhere. And so what I'm trying to say is, you couldn't lay a quarantine down in this environment for 5 or 6 years.
Right.
People are too plugged into their sovereignty, and it's just building like a snowball going down a hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a wild, 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 wild year and a half. I mean, energetically speaking, we've seen the chaos of a lot of it manifest in our social world, right? But ultimately, as well as I do, because I feel how much I've changed, the collective as a whole has gone through things that they don't fully understand yet.
Absolutely.
There's so many people that are going through things energetically right now, that are going through what we would call a spiritual awakening, that are going through this process of purging and like the cocoon right before the butterfly. And they don't really fully understand what's actually happening. And I think over the next 5 years, we are going to see such incredible transformation in the individual's life from being in this time period, being a catalyst. I mean, all the people that were forced to go inward,
that's what I was saying about 2020, because it doesn't matter if you're in a light worker circle or not. I don't want to interrupt you, but solitude, kids taken out of institutional educational systems, the medical industry just absolutely implodes, right? Yep. And so on and so on.
Right.
The only thing that's keeping it interesting enough to engage people, be they light workers or not, whatever you want to call it, and take their attention and disempower them, is the financial part.
Right.
So Nasera, Jasara, they talk about all this other stuff, and everyone's going to have $100,000 in the bank. Bullshit. The quicker we get rid of these fucking pie in the sky things, and you know what, I think we all saw timelines of Trump. That was definitely going in a way, and I don't mean this to be political. I'm talking about the truth. I'm talking about the unveiling, right? Like a bull in a china shop. You're gonna see some stuff, and we did. But I remember Franco de Nicola saying, "We've made another choice." And it's going to take, in 2 or 3 years, it's going to end up in the same place, but it's actually going to reveal itself quicker this way, be a little bit bumpier. Look, bottom line is that's occurring because of what's happening in these personal transformations. They're affecting the grid. They are the grid.
Correct.
So, to me, it's like you walk into this complicated game and you're like, okay, wow, look at this landscape, and how do I get there, and what's the object, and we've come right back to ourselves. The easiest way to walk this path is to be true to ourselves.
So good. And I think too that people, especially here in the States, and that's all I can speak about, but they're awakening to that, the fact of each human, we are the greatest asset in the world. The human energy, right? The human spirit is the greatest asset in the world. And the more we focus on raising our vibration and raising our energy and raising our individual awareness, the more that everything is going to have to come into alignment. It goes back to what I was saying with earlier. The more I'm in alignment with my health, the more reality is showing up in that, right? And the more I change physically, and it's just incredible. It's an incredible time to be alive. It is absolutely,
absolutely it is.
Wild.
Well, and what you said about the essentially the energy created by a human hybrid soul, by a human being, however you want to put it. So there's a lot of narratives, and a lot of those narratives are nefarious narratives, right? And whether they're true or not, they're just part of the fucking story. It's no different than my life in the past and yours. Right? It's information that got us to this point and contributed to our transformation. Still going. But there's a lot of narratives that talk about how the human emotions running with reckless abandon, so to speak, have been the sustenance and the food for other, let's say, more awakened or higher frequencies or other dimensional energies that have been vampiric, and the same thing happens here. So now we convert. We're no longer engaged in this codependent frequency. We're no longer vampires onto each other. Even when we're unconscious of it and don't think we are. I mean, because codependent's codependent.
Absolutely.
If I have an expectation of you, I've got a codependency thing running and vice versa. So now we're transforming that.
Yeah.
We're to thine own self be true, taking it to the core, to the human experience itself, to include body, mind, and soul. Like you said, you feel better now than you ever have. So what's going to happen now? What's going to happen now is that if there are any boogeymans out there that we can't see, we're impervious to it. We're sovereign. We're self-sufficient. We're self-reliant. We're self-responsible. We're conscious co-creators. And that starts with us. Because if we can't do it for ourselves, we damn sure can't help anyone else. Because if we think that's what we're doing, we're just a wounded healer still trying to heal.
So good. So good. I think that if I had to tell people, I think that's one of the greatest messages is to take our power back and then realize that you have authority and sovereignty over your being. And the more that we own that reality and the more we walk in that reality, the more we become the fulfillment and embodiment of that divine masculine, divine feminine.
Yeah.
The more we realize that because I walked around as an unhealed empath most of my adult life, and I was prey to these lower vibrations, right? Because I wasn't walking within my power. The minute we learn to walk in our power, now I become an influencer on my sphere of energy, my realm, right? And now that has rippling effects into the water. It's just like throwing a rock into the pebble. We have rippling effects on consciousness as a whole when the individual takes their power back, stops blaming everything around them, takes ownership and accountability for their sovereignty as a being, and begins to direct the movie from power, from empowerment, from sovereignty. And of course, we realize that there are places in the world that people are not as blessed as we are. We are truly blessed. I mean, there's places that, kids don't have food.
Absolutely.
There's things that we realize that, and I think that those of us that are blessed to live where we live, and including myself, I have to make sure that I live in that fullest potential because we have power.
That's right. And your simultaneous inspiration and expression with the compassion, because that's part of it. Yeah. I mean, that's just a prerequisite to being able to hit that point in between the space between breaths. That is right. I mean, you're affecting whoever, and with that energy, with that heartfelt, pure intention, with that projection of you. So. Yeah. That's the best thing you can do. It doesn't matter what's going on outside of you. It only matters when it takes 1 degree of your attention and your power. So we're converting. This literally is a pole shift. So when a human being chooses self, other, and the collective in one equal motion, thought, word, action, that's as deep as an embodiment can get. And I think that's the catalyst for what our potential is. And I think the universe is sitting on the edge of its seat trying to figure out how far they're going to go.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's man, it's I think about all the darkness that I've seen. I think about the pain that I've experienced personally, the pain that I've caused other people. Yeah. And I think about all the people that I've seen on the streets. I think about the homeless man that walks past me sometimes, and that just drives me to realize that the best version, every day I decide to become the best version of myself, I get to have an impact, so that maybe one person doesn't have to go that place. You know, maybe one person doesn't have to go that far to, you know, I don't know how it all works, right? Because but my belief is the more that I heal, the more that I grow, the more that I expand, I have to believe to the core of who I am that is going to have an impact on those who are struggling. And that's why I've become addicted in a good way with being happy. I've become addicted to being vibrant. I've become addicted to being full of life and living authentically and vulnerably and not caring what anybody says anymore. You know why? Because my whole adult life, I lived just the opposite.
That's right.
Just the opposite. I cared so much about what everyone else was going to say. I cared so much about what I looked like. I cared so much what the perception of everybody was, because I was stuck in people pleasing, you know?
Right on.
And so it's just ultimately, it's ultimately what drives me is to see that. Man, I remember that darkness. I remember seeing what it was like.
Dude, you just said something that like triggered me. Not in a bad way. Triggered a memory.
Yeah.
There's no coincidences.
No doubt.
And so it came in, and then this poem that I wrote coming off the streets years ago came into my mind, which had come in. The reason it came into my mind because it came up on the memories yesterday. But this is not the emphasis. The emphasis is what you triggered in me, right? Which I see in you as a mirror. Thank you. But let me read this to you.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of what the buildup was and what you were talking about. So I wrote this. Okay. Is in my most difficult time, I found the greatest truth. Homeless, penniless, many nights cold and hungry. My sins became a shadow, and pain became my friend, leading me to my own salvation. In every single prayer was seeded a desire. This is what reminded me of what you said. Not for a meal, a warm embrace, or a space to lay my head, but rather that in all things of which I am a part of, be for the highest good.
Oof.
This came to me in the street, and when you said that to me, I knew that, like, you know, that point, right, where you actually get to a point where that level of not having attachments takes you to a place that's almost like the world would probably say it's mentally insane. But at the end, I said, so I have seen the miracle of soul where faith outside myself only served my hopes. And faith in myself served them to a new reality beyond my wildest dreams. I am soul. But now, so when you said that, the first thing that came in
so good
was, and a lot of people may not be able to relate to this, but if you have ever been a baller, if you've ever gone in full bore, jump off a plank in the middle of a dark abyss and said, fuck it, I'm going. And what a rush. I'm talking drugs. I'm talking drinking. I'm talking partying. But beyond that, I'm talking about this place where you know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and you're in. There's another part of it, like everything, where you're more opened up and you have accessibility to things that you wouldn't normally have. And so when I heard what you were saying, I was like, wow. So here's an example of a man, of a soul, Jeff Walsh, who threw himself into the abyss and now throws himself into the other side, which part of that diving in is integrating both, right? But you're doing it with an equal or greater measure of devotion. And that's the energy we're talking about here.
Yeah.
That's the energy we're talking about that's in all of us is like, you know, they say running to the light. So it's like running to the light where you look at your chest as you're heaving and you are the light. And you're like, what's going on here?
It's interesting because the first part of diving into the abyss, right, and into that darkness, what's crazy is that I was operating from a brokenness within, an unhealed trauma, and I was trying to escape myself, right? I was jumping into the darkness because it was the only way that I could feel.
Yeah.
Because I was so unable to feel in those days that I was literally putting these drugs in my system so that I could experience what I thought I couldn't achieve without them.
Yeah.
And that to me, and then brings on the darkness. I mean, the people.
When you wake up the next morning going, what the hell did I do last night?
Well, next morning, how about like 7 days without?
Oh yeah. No, I never did it that hard. I never did. I always was conscious from one day to the other, I think. But I one of the many great gifts in being in a relationship with Morgan and the connection that we have is to be able to, which we all know this, to be able to tell your story without in a space where you're being held without judgment, and your voice is still shaking, right?
Yeah.
But I remember telling her the worst of the worst, and it was like pulling teeth. And I was open to her from the moment I met her,
right.
But it was the being, it was when you said, I just wanted to feel something, because she asked me, she said, why did you do that? And I said, I wanted to feel something. I couldn't feel anything. I wanted to feel something. And that's why, like the people that you meet out in the streets, and this, and in the drug, how the crack houses on the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's not what it looks like. Just because you're out of your fucking mind, and whoever you're looking at or looking on, it doesn't mean that the soul has left the house.
No.
You can lose I proved it. You can lose your fucking mind and find the light simultaneously. And that's the truth. And anything in between. So it really taught me those 2 years. And I think when we talked about it before, you were talking about it. Everybody's God. I mean, everybody's got something to show you if you're willing to look. If you have some type of preconceived notion or bias or prejudice, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
But your own, you are the line of separation. I am the line of separation.
I think what people, and all of us probably are at some level, or, I don't want to say guilty, but we all probably do this, is that we look at a certain situation and we don't really fully understand. Like, for example, me doing drugs, I was having full-blown spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm still spiritual. Just because I'm doing drugs doesn't, like, literally it opens you up to even more, right? Because now you're seeing all this dark stuff and all this, like the chaos of it now. So that's why I'm so on this side wanting to help people energetically and from this place, because now I'm able to like enjoy creating my own joy, my own happiness, my own.
Would you say that the energy, because you said specifically about the last, year and a half or 15, 16 months, right? I'm assuming you beginning 2021, that's kind of when somebody shot the starter pistol into the air, right? But would you say that, are you seeing any threads of connection in our experience in the atmosphere that carry the same frequencies of our past. And I'm talking about you and me. I'm talking about hallucinogens. I'm talking about what, we call drugs and all that. I mean, are you seeing some of that? Almost like you don't need that stuff because it's coming in or it's here and even will go beyond. Are you feeling any of that?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I think just sun gazing, is you're receiving so much, information. I mean, I don't know. I'm so in the now. You know what I mean? I'm so in the now right now.
Do you feel like your sensitivities are spiking or
for sure.
I mean, like, are you I mean, I don't know, man. It just feels so. You asked about the last 15 months, but I'd go back March.
Yeah.
March and the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Like, what?
Yeah. What's been crazy for me is tapping into the energy just seems like an automatic, it's the, but what's wild though, Todd, and this is what I try to explain, is that my sensitivity has drastically increased. I think it has a lot to do with belief in myself, right? And my ability to actually tap in, like my own understanding of my worth and my value and what I'm here to do and why I'm here and my role in all of that. But even more so, I feel like I'm losing a lot of the egoic mindsets tied to spirituality. So I feel like I'm growing in this balance. For me, it just seems like everything is becoming more balanced in my life. Because I went through, 2017 and 18, when I was going through this like energetic spiritual awakening, I went through a lot, what we would call like almost psychosis in some way, right? Like just like.
You're kidding. Hey, anybody out there can you relate to that? I'm just kidding.
I mean, literally like manifestation of like this like inner psychosis, and now it's almost like I'm just really integrating this wellness, this balance, and my gifting. I'm sure you've seen me do some of my like readings and things like that. It's just I'm like a clear channel, and it's things are just really, really, really starting to take off for my platform, for my business, for myself. And it's just, I don't know, something energetically for those of us that have been putting the work in is really like, we're tapped in, we're plugged in. I think
it's time. I think it's game time.
Yeah.
I think it's game time. I really do. I mean, you can see, the give and go and the push and shove and the, you know what I mean? I mean, you can see like what has been the collective barometer of what's going on earth, who are we? And it's all coming from out here, and you can see it coming from the groundswell. And like, if you look at the, something like the vaccines, I mean, even on the mainstream media, there's a wide range of pro and cons, being, I mean, it's like, it doesn't even make sense. It's like, you know what I mean? So you have, there's this kind of a tug of war kind of thing going on, but you can see that what, I would describe as, the I am soul, the individual, just, I hate to use the word define because it sounds like there's some kind of oppression, but it's more like, man, this shit's not even real. Like, we're on a playground and we're in a physical body. We've done this in our light bodies. We can fly around and do this but to be in a physical body and to be given this field of potential, I mean, we haven't seen anything yet. I think we've dipped our little toe, our pinky toe from our left foot into to this field of potential. We haven't even scraped. I mean, it's like, man, it's like when you said you're doing the readings and stuff, and you're basically a clear conduit and a channel. This is how we're all operating.
Yeah.
We just haven't figured it out. And when we do, that's where the telepathy comes in, because nobody's going to need to say anything.
I mean, I'm with you. I don't think that people fully grasp how powerful we are. I know I don't,
No.
and I think that, it's wild in my life now, because like literally I'll think about someone, I'll be taking a shower, and someone will come up into my mind. I'll think about them, and I'll come out, and they're texting me.
Yeah, that's
I
what
mean,
I'm
I'm
talking
not
about.
talking like once every month. I'm talking 4, 5, 6 times a day.
Yeah.
Things that are happening internally, the things that I'm growing with, and my own ability to catch my belief systems that need. I mean, it is just literally incredible, and that's what I think. And we are seeing the polarities in the social constructs, right? We're seeing all of this, this chaos, all this chaos.
Silly. It's silly. It's so loud. It's so loud. I mean, it's not about left or right or wrong. I mean, and you know what? I'm not going to pull any punches. I mean, being an American means nothing to me. But,
Right.
and I'm saying this. Let me just, because it's a separation. We're Earth citizens. If we want to, you know, exclusivize ourselves, we could say we're Earth citizens, right? But I mean, like, it's so loud. You see one side doing this, saying that the other side's doing that, while this side's saying that they're doing that and they're not doing. I mean, it's like crazy, and it can be anything. It can be political. It could be vaccine, integrity. It could be quarantine or COVID data. I mean, it's all over the board. So even if you look, like, for instance, at the United States, and you look at states with no mask mandates, like Texas and like, you see the sovereignty going, hey, you know what? I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And on the same hand, Ontario, Canada, we're going to enforce to the integrity. So you see this massive expanse between the representations of the polarities.
Right.
And so it's quite fast. It's like it's forcing people to take a side until they can't take one anymore.
Yeah. I think we honor, it's all about honoring each other's individual, like for the vaccines, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people saying, oh, you can't do it. You can't do it. You're going to get a microchip and you're going to, this. Listen, like, let individuals decide for themselves.
Exactly.
It's their
exactly.
And for you to instill fear into somebody is not benefiting anyone or anything. Listen, we all have, I have parents, my children have grandchildren. We all have old people that are impacted in different ways because of health things and this and that. And for anybody to say, oh, do this, you're going to have this, or it, we have to return. You can't claim sovereignty in the sense of like your own free will and then put fear on other people.
Exactly.
And, and I think that ultimately, we have to be more. I love the saying recently that, listen, sometimes it's better to keep peace than be right sometimes. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, like, I don't have to be right all the time. I just have to live authentically and vulnerably for me.
You have to be right with you. You have to be right for yourself. And what you're bringing up is a really good point, because if you have a great divide, which a lot of people have called this, right? Which is what I'm describing, not with that intention, but that's what I'm describing. So you can have two sides and there's bleed over. We're talking about extremes, and it's not one issue or one movement or one party. Look, I'll give an example like this. How much would we have grown? And I'm not pushing any agenda, because I was actually kind of pulling for the white hats and Trump, because I was like, I'm ready to get out of here. Let's lift this thing up. How long do we got to wait? But if you look at the gift, of that narrative running out. Now, you've got somebody in the White House, and I don't care what your politics are. I mean, that's not a person. I don't know what the hell's going on there. I mean, he might be a person, but he certainly can't make his own decisions. He probably can't even wipe his ass, which, but the point is, what a gift. How many people were clinging on that were with the light? I'm with the light. I'm here to kick dark's ass. How many people had to eat fucking humble pie, which is the best thing we can eat on this journey?
No doubt.
Look what it's done. It's brought us down. Oh, you weren't right. Well, you weren't right last time. Everybody's going to be buck naked on an even playing field before this thing's all over. So look, I see like you, I see the beauty of it, man. It's like, okay, we've tailor-made this for ourselves. Well, at the speed that we can handle it with ease and grace.
I love the conversation. And listen, I'm not going to get into my personal politics. I'm probably more libertarian now in my life anyways, but I love having the conversation with, and I do lean probably a little bit right, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But you have the far right that says it was sovereign, that Trump was there and it was God ordained and it was this and it was that. And you had
in March and January 20th and March the 3rd and May the 5th.
Yeah, and all these
and it could happen, whatever. But
all these false
I get
paradigms, all these false things that never happened. But Biden winning isn't sovereign. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make sense.
None of it's sovereign.
Right. It's
that's what I mean. It's like we're being forced to choose a side. Now we're talking Trump, Biden. But we're not.
Right.
We're talking Morgan and Todd.
Right.
We're talking Jeff and Todd. We're talking about the little things are the big things.
That's it.
Right? I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's no different than if I go down the store right now, in a store that no longer has a sign that says put a mask on. If I walk in, how many people, what's your charge? Some people walk in like me would have no mask. I don't think about it. Some people might walk in and go, I'm not going to wear a mask. Somebody mess with me. You know what I mean? And the same with the other side. It's like the universe is setting the stage for us to pick a side on every aspect of our life until there's no side to pick, until there's no difference between what we saw as something that was outside of ourselves, because there's nothing outside of ourselves. It's just not going to happen. This isn't Far Eastern, the ancient, and this is just the reality. Oneness is oneness. And if it's not, we can either live like it is, which may be the difference, or we can live like it's not.
Yeah. To me, the less I focus on any of that, the better my life is.
Yes.
It's really, because guess what? Then I get to put my attention and my energy where it needs to go. And that's what I'm building. That's what I'm creating. That's what, a lot of us in the Western, world, we have this great gift of, we have a lot of freedom. It doesn't matter what we want to say, but the truth is that we have so much autonomy and freedom to build and create what we want to build and create. And we've been given a lot more blessings. It's kind of like, looking at some of the places in the world, like where we are at, I'm speaking from the United States. I'm grateful, I'm grateful for being privileged to live here, because I get to focus my thoughts and my energy and my time and my resources into what I want to focus them on. And if I want to leak my energy to CNN and MSNBC and Fox News, and I want to leak my energy to, racism and this and political this and that, then I can do it. But if I don't want to do that because it's healthier for my mindset, and I want to focus on my love for my children, I want to focus on what I'm building, I want to focus on what I'm creating, I want to focus on, how I can do that, because knowing that while I do that, I'm actually having more impact on all of those other areas without focusing my energy on that. And
that's right. You're equally serving self, other, and humanity. In this case, the universe is the third end of that triad. But and this is what we were talking about earlier. So if I was born in in a remote part of Africa, and I was born a tribesman, right? A tribe that had been around for hundreds and hundreds, thousands of whatever. I still have the same experience. Stay with me, because we're talking energy here. If I'm born into what we would call poverty in a let's say a very desert type of environment, that's all I know. That's it. That's all I know. So what I receive in proportion to my experience when laid against the other is the same. And what I'm trying to say is I walk out of my abode, my tent or my teepee or whatever it is, and this guy that lives over here in this teepee is a vampire who's always putting out gossip, which is the same energy as, let's just say, CNN. I mean, these elements are all there. They're all there. So yes, I'm thankful. I am thankful to be born in Texas, and I'm thankful to live in the United States. But like anything else, when Archangel Michael connected to me, and I know you've had similar experiences in other different aspects, those are not greater than me, right? And they're also not to be attached to. They are information, just like my experience is information. And that's it. Because the longer we hang on, the stories are important, don't get me wrong, but the longer we hang on to these stories and our labels and our identifications, we're asking now to be stripped of the identifications we just obtained since we woke up.
Yeah.
So we got to let those go too.
So I mean,
you know what I mean? It's serious, and it's moving so fast that we can do it.
Right.
That we can do it, and everybody's seen some. And I'm guilty and whatever. It's not about that, but everybody's seen a frequency that was prolific and expanding and elevated and transcending 6 months ago. And you see it in the form of, let's just say, maybe it's some group's post or some person's post or expressions that remains the same. And you look at it now and you go, I'll just keep going. But 6 months ago, it was the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
So our ability to transform isn't just part of our reality, it's how fast. And it's mind blowing,
No, I agree.
It's like that picture behind you. So, dude, I got to go take a wee, man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's been good talking to you.
Yeah,
you're in San Diego. I don't know if I'm gonna get out that way. We got that Soulogy Fest into May in Sedona. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do this as I'm getting all my stuff prepared, which might take a few months to get to Australia. But I might, given that time of year, I might just head that way and
we'll
see what kind of trouble.
When is your Sedona? It's in May, right?
May 28th, 29th, and 30th is the official Soulogy Fest. And just so everybody knows, because I haven't been on about it, because it's been kind of heavy not heavy, but I've been busy the last 7 to 10 days. But it's $555 for the 3 days, and you can go to the website, SoulogyFest.com. And then the next day, if you've been to Sedona, there is a Chocolate Tree restaurant. You ever been to Sedona?
I have.
I love to. Yeah, Chocolate Tree Restaurant. We're going to have a free gathering of up to 100 people, just like the festival. And that's going to be free. That's going to be on Memorial Day. So it's actually kind of a 4-day event. But yeah, that's end of May. So after that, I might, who knows? I might jump in the car and go to Southern California and go see Joshua Tree, or, go see if I can get into some kind of, trouble out in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, man. You're doing that's awesome. You're having that, and then I'll have to have you on. We're launching our podcast tomorrow, so
dude, and let me know, man. I'm always up for somebody's podcast. I'm always up for that. I think that's one of the best things we can do, is just to turn on the camera, do a live, and and talk about whatever your truth is. It could be stand in the kitchen teaching us your favorite recipe. It's all about you know, it's all about us.
TikTok, on TikTok, they get people making a recipe gets 5 million views. You know, whatever you're passionate about, right? It's it's ultimately that's
Right on.
that's your energy.
Crystal Hardy says, Jeff, you can carpool together. I guess you.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Check it out. All right, brother. We'll see you.
Right.
You take care, man. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And we'll hook up again in a few weeks. All right.
Yeah, you as well, sir. Thank you.
All right, brother.
All right,
Peace out.
Later.